There we go. Okay, there we go. Hooray. I finally figured out our technology. Great. Awesome. Welcome. You would think that by now we would be good at this, but we're all humans and it's Friday. And so thankful to join you today. I am Dr. Andrea Herrst, women's health chiropractic physician in Grand Ledge, Michigan, joined this morning by the lovely Megan Simmons. Is it Simmons or Simons?
Simmons.
Simmons, great. Thank you. I always want to make sure I'm saying things correctly. So we were just going to talk for a moment about your experience with chiropractic care. We saw each other a couple weeks ago and you had some brilliant thoughts and you were, excited to share them. And so I'm so thankful for that. What is your take on it? What do you think about chiropractic care?
Yeah, no, well, thank you for initiating this. I love being able to just give this type of feedback because I really wish I had it when I was looking into chiropractic care. I think everyone knows about chiropractic care, or they've heard of it, they have assumptions about it, maybe you've had experience with it. But just to give everybody that's listening a little bit of my background, I have had several different health issues, whether it's weight or anxiety and stress, and getting also through my weight loss journey, really getting into physical fitness and enjoying that and being active, also being hyper flexible. And so personally, I've dealt with just a lot of different physical changes in my body over the journey of, my life. And then from a professional standpoint, I used to work for a chiropractic office, and I didn't realize until then how many different practices of chiropractic there are. It really is quite different, each individual experience, and what they believe is really the longevity of chiropractic care. Do you need to go in a few times? Do you do rehab afterwards? Some of them are very focused on just your physical body. Some people give a more holistic approach. So I know that that is not necessarily answering your question, but I hope you're okay with me taking just a moment to talk to everyone about like my background so you kind of know my point of perspective when it comes to chiropractic care.
I so appreciate you giving that introduction because I think there are a lot of people who either have like this idea from some family member or, they watched another video online on some other social media platform and they're like, oh, okay, I get it. I understand where that is. And so I really appreciate that you're bringing your own personal experience, both as a, user as well as a staff member in that other doctor's office. So why would you think that, why did you go in? Why did you come for care?
Yeah. So I remember when I was working for the chiropractic office, I had been to a chiropractor before. And let's be honest, if you don't have a background in chiropractic or don't know anything about it, you more likely are going in because you have some sort of symptom. So right. Either your back hurts or maybe someone had recommended it. So that generally is what brings people into the chiropractic environment. And when someone gives you x-rays and takes a look and they are telling you this is what you look like and this is what needs to be done, you can't really argue with that. You're like, okay, so you just kind of trust that. So I think that you need to just remember that no one knows your body like you do. And so I think that if you don't see the value in that, in your own interpretation of your body, I think that you'll find that you're not as satisfied with any sort of any sort of doctor therapy or anything like that. If you're not like really listening to yourself and finding someone who is, even though they're the professional, they give value to the fact that they want to understand you and your body, that everyone is different and they want to hear that from you. So I would recommend that to start. But when I went into a chiropractic, I had a back injury. My sciatic was bothering me. My lower hip-ish area was bothering me. But when I went in there, Andrea, is where I learned the overall function of your spine in chiropractic care when it comes to just overall immunity and wellness and how that affects it. So I guess what I started with the injury, but really continued practicing chiropractic when I really saw the benefits of the importance of your immune system, of your hormonal system, of the way that you function on a daily basis. It's so much bigger than what people, I think, are aware of.
Totally. And that's something that I talk with all of my patients about, is that chiropractic isn't just about like a joint, right? It's not just like, oh, my neck hurts and I can't turn my head. It's really about affecting your nervous system. And I love asking kids that question, like, what controls your body? Like, what's the master system that's in charge, and seeing what they say. And so often it's, oh, your heart. Well, yeah, that's true. If your heart isn't pumping and, delivering oxygen and blood everywhere, then you're in trouble, right? But what controls your heart? And it's your nervous system. And that's really what chiropractic is optimizing. And your nervous system controls everything else. And so I love that you cued in on that. And it does. It really affects your immune system function. It affects your hormones. Everything else in your body is controlled by your nervous system. So what would you say has been your experience since you have had previous chiropractic care in another office, you worked at another office? What's been the difference with coming to my office?
So I think there's so many things. I won't have time to answer all of them, but or talk about all of them. So if you ever want to have us back on, maybe we can target certain things.
I would love that.
But I really say that there's a lot of quality in the questions. So the amount of questions that you ask, the discussion that we have prior to you doing any sort of actual treatment on me, on the table or in your room, there's a lot of conversation. And that really allows me to feel safe, and it allows me to just understand, it allows me to talk through how I am really feeling. We live in such a busy society where we probably feel aches and pains and we don't think anything about it, or we don't really notice it. Our subconscious is just like, we're moving at the things that are in front of us. And so the conversation that we have prior to you taking any action, is probably the most important part of the appointment, I think, because it allows you to really know what it is that I need. Right. And so I think that has made the biggest difference. It's not like, let me look at this x-ray. You're going to come in. I'm going to spend 5 minutes adjusting you, and then we're going to go, and you should just be doing this forever. So we're just going to keep scaling how you're doing, and let's just kind of see how things are going. And so you take a much more holistic approach, where you have that conversation with me first. Maybe there has been some stress areas in my life, maybe some different changes that would affect my body and the way that I'm holding myself, or the way that the nervous system, all of those things. So I think that in order to really get better, instead of just correcting a symptom, that portion needs to take place. And I've never had that experience with anyone else.
Oh, I so appreciate that you shared that, and that you feel that. Everyone wants their story to be heard, right? They want to know that someone hears their experience of being in their body and experiencing their life, and how it's affecting how they are able to do their everyday activities. And I think that's such a key component of healthcare. And I know, every doctor goes into, medical school, chiropractic college, with that intention of like, I want to hear people so I can help them. And then so many get lost along the way because of different factors, right? And so that's why I practice the way that I do, because I really want to connect with people so they can feel heard, because then they're going to get better. They're going to be able to sleep better, exercise to meet health goals, lose weight, play with their children, do the sport that they want to do, all the different things that make life worth living, right? Like, because chasing pain it's kind of pointless. But if I can help someone identify, like, it's really hard for me to go up and down the stairs, and I'm worried that like my leg is going to give out from underneath me. Well, that's a lot. That's a lot of mental burden, and that's a lot of physical burden. And so if I can hear that, then we can address and tailor a treatment plan to alleviate that. And then we can come back and say, how did you feel going up the stairs this week? Oh, it was so much easier. I felt more confident. I just kind of went and did it. that means so much more than like, please rate your pain on the scale of 1 to 10. Which is, very subjective and hard to track. So I really appreciate that you have felt that and heard that, and how our office works. Do you have anything that's been surprising to you, in coming in for care?
Surprising. I think always, the adjustment is always, the actual adjustment portion is always different every time. You would think that it would just be the same, but it's not. It's always different, like literally always.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's just like, I think it's just maybe you listening to my body and knowing what that is. So it's just, I would say that would be maybe the most surprising thing, is like not really realizing like, oh man, I really did need that. You know what I mean? Like you just kind of, it's just different every time. So I think that that's always the surprising thing. It's not the same routine. I also feel too that, if you've ever gone to the doctors before, I'm sure all of us have, anyone that's watching. And if they just focus on what the pain is and then correct that, and they're not trying to ask enough questions to figure out what's causing it, then you're going to keep having the same issue. Yep. Oftentimes in the health realm, people would come in with ear infections and they would complain about that. Well, do they have candida? Is it like a viral thing? Like what is going on? And what could potentially be causing that ear infection? So it's not just correcting the problem. And that's one thing I really encourage everyone. If you haven't been to a chiropractor, just go in, because it's much easier to be preventative and to make sure that things are lined up before you're at this place of discomfort. But also just making sure that when you walk in there, whoever it is that you see, that you're taking the time, or that person is, to investigate why you might be having these symptoms, because that's going to look very different. And lastly, I love that you gave the example of just walking up the stairs. When someone asks anyone, what does healthy look like for you, you're going to get a different answer from every single person. Sometimes it's without disease. Sometimes it's being able to run a marathon. Sometimes it's just being able to play with their kids. Sometimes it's to take a nap. Sometimes it's to walk up the stairs.
Don't we all want to take a nap? Everybody wants to take it. We all need more sleep, for sure.
Yeah. And so I think that, if I have this pain in my back, if you never went through the process and had enough patience to figure out what could possibly be causing it, I might miss that. Maybe I'm sleeping wrong on it. Maybe I am a new mom and it's because I'm carrying my child in car seat all on one side, or a purse that I'm constantly carrying, or a backpack. Like your kids are out there with these heavy backpacks. Of course, it's much better nowadays than it was before the Chromebooks, when I had like the 50 pounds of textbooks, but they're still heavy, you know? And so, and if your kids are active, they should go see a chiropractor. It's just good to prevent those things, because so many things can cause the same symptom. So you have to know really what's causing it, not so much just know the symptom.
Totally. And I really love that you brought that up, because I think it just goes again to like hearing people's stories and understanding where they are. An analogy that I use often is taking care of your car, right? Like we all drive our cars to different locations. Sometimes we're only in the car for 5 minutes. Some people have to commute an hour. You haul different things in your car, whether it's kids or sports equipment or your parents' couch or whatever. We all use our cars in different ways. And so similarly, we all use our bodies in different ways. And so I can't, it's just like taking your vehicle to the mechanic and saying like, when I do this, it makes this noise, like when I turn, it makes this noise. Well, how have you been driving it? What roads are you driving? Are you driving on the road around here that's all bumpy? Like what way are you using this thing? And so really drilling down and hearing the specifics for each person about how they're living their life. And I often talk with people about, so many work from home now, right? Like we're both at home today. And so like, what does your desk setup look like? Are you repetitively like poking your chin? Like, well, okay, that makes sense as to why your shoulder and neck are tight. So really drilling down and finding those specific details for each person, because you're right, the adjustment is different every time. There is no recipe. There's no like protocol that I follow that's like adjust this, this, and this. It really needs to be on your terms with a conversation. There has to be, I'm a partner. Is how I really like to work. Is I'm a partner in health to help you get where you want to go and live your best life. So I love that that's been your experience in my office. So thank you for sharing your time and words with us today. You are the best, and I want to, be respectful of the rest of your time. So if you or someone needs to be heard and have their stories, taken into account and a tailored treatment plan developed, please give me a call. There's always a free consult. We can spend 15 minutes talking online just like this. And so I can hear a little bit about your story, and you can decide if my office is the right place for you. You can visit my website at drherrst.com to schedule that or any other appointments anytime. It's available 24/7. It's the kind of world that we live in. So thank you, Megan. I really appreciate it, and I love working with you, and I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me today.
Yeah, no, thank you for thinking of me and letting me share my story. I appreciate that too.
Awesome. All right. We will talk again soon.
Have a great weekend.